Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Ram,
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare Rama
Ram
Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram
Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama
Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Rama Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Ram 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 Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare what are cutting
Hare Krishna
Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Sati Gaura Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Sati Gaura Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Rama Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare 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 Ram Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण हरे 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 राम हरे
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Ram
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे राम हरे हरे 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 कृष्ण हरे राम हरे 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 कृष्ण हरे हरे राम 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 हरे Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Yeah. Hare Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji, Dandavat Pranams. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much for joining. Lavanya, can you read please this one?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. This transcendental name of Krishna is so sweet that either you chant with 1,000 mouths or 1,000 tongues, still you will never feel tired. By Srila Prabhupada.
That is the difference between material sound vibration and spiritual sound vibration. Right? Material sound vibration, it's going to be tiresome. We cannot hear any song, for example. We get this, it's a tiresome thing. It cannot give real happiness. This transcendental name of Krishna, so sweet. That's why 1,000 one tongue, 1,000 tongues, or million tongues never feel tired, because it's a spiritual sound vibration, right? So, and it's directly connects with Krishna, and no difference between Krishna and his form and his holy name. Both are identical. That's why in devotional service, primary activities and 90% of our progression towards devotional service is chanting the holy names of the japa. If we attentively focus, rapt attention, so these are the qualities we have to develop. Attentiveness, no, we have to hear properly the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna. Each syllable we have to properly recite and hear. Then automatically we feel in our lives that advancement. Yes, I am progressing. I am properly situated. We get that feelings because it's a holy name, not material name, right? Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much, Lavanya. Now let us begin with Mangalacharana prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, 4th chapter. entitled as Confidential Regions of Appearance of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we are going to read from this verse 166. Yeah, translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The object of lust is only the enjoyment of one's own senses, but love caters to the enjoyment of Lord Krishna, and thus it is very powerful. Translation. Social customs, scriptural injunctions, bodily demands, fruitive action, shyness, patience, bodily pleasures, self-gratification, and the path of Varnashrama Dharma, which is difficult to give up. The gopis have forsaken all these, as well as their own relatives and their punishment and scolding. For the sake of serving Lord Krishna, they render loving service to him for the sake of his enjoyment. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. That is called firm attachment to Lord Krishna. It is spotlessly pure, like a clean cloth that has no stain. Purport. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita advises everyone to give up all engagements of sense gratification and, like the gopis, dovetail oneself entirely with the will of the Supreme Lord. That is the ultimate instruction of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. We should be prepared to do anything and everything to please the Lord, even at the risk of violating the Vedic principles or ethical laws. That is the standard of love of Godhead. Such activities in pure love of Godhead are as spotless as white linen that has been completely washed. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur warns us in this connection that we should not mistakenly think that the idea of giving up everything implies the renunciation of duties necessary in relation to the body and mind. Even such duties are not sense gratification if they are undertaken in a spirit of service to Krishna. Yeah. Read Mata, Deepa Mata.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Translation. Therefore, lust and love are quite different. Lust is like dense darkness, but love is like the bright sun. Thus, there is not the slightest taint of lust in the gopis' love. Their relationship with Krishna is only for the sake of his enjoyment. O dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breasts, fearing that your feet will be hurt. Our life rests only in you. Our minds, therefore, are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as you roam about on the forest path. Purport. The text from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.31.19 was spoken by the gopis when Krishna left them in the midst of the Ras Leela.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah, little other. Samyukta Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The gopis do not care for their own pleasure of pains. All their physical and mental activities are directed toward offering enjoyment to Lord Krishna. They renounce everything for Krishna. They have pure attachment to giving Krishna pleasure. O my beloved gopis, you have renounced social customs, scriptural injunctions, and your relatives for my sake. I disappeared behind you only to increase your concentration upon me. Since I disappeared for your benefit, you should not be displeased with me. Purport. This text from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.32.21 was spoken by Lord Krishna when he returned to the arena of the Rasa Leela. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Akinchan Priya Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna. Translation by Yeshua Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Lord Krishna has a promise from before to reciprocate with his devotees according to the way they worship him. In whatever way my devotees surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pratha.
This one read, Prabhu. This is from Bhagavad Gita sloka.
ये ये तामां प्रपन्ते तानिष्ठस्य भजामहं मम वर्तवन्तवन्तेन मनुष्य पार्थ सर्वस्य.
Sarvasa. Yeah.
So Krishna was never ungrateful to the gopis, for as he declares to Arjuna in this verse from Bhagavad Gita 4.11, he reciprocates with his devotees in proportion to the transcendental loving service they render unto him. Everyone follows the path that leads towards him, but there are different degree of progress to that path, and Lord is realized in proportion to one's advancement. The path is one, but the progress in approaching the ultimate goal is different, and therefore the proportion of realization of this goal, namely the absolute personality of Godhead, is also different. The gopis attained the highest goal, and the Lord Chaitanya affirmed that there is no method of worshipping God higher than that followed by the gopis.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So this is one thing. If you surrender 100%, complete surrender, Krishna is, you possess Krishna. 90%, 80%, 60%, like that. Ye yatamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajami. That's what I think. Yeah. Praveen Prabhu or Aryan Prabhu, please kindly read.
In translation, that promise has been broken by the worship of the gopis, as Lord Krishna himself admits. O gopis, I am not able to repay my debt for a spotless service given within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. Purport. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.32-22 was spoken by Sri Krishna himself when he returned to the gopis upon hearing this songs of separation.
Yes, your Nana.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Translation and purport. Now, whatever affection we see the gopis show for their own bodies, know it for certain to be only for the sake of Lord Krishna. The selfless love of Godhead exhibited by the gopis cannot have any parallel. We should not therefore misunderstand the carefulness of gopis in their personal decoration. The gopis dressed themselves as beautifully as possible just to make Krishna happy by seeing them. They had no ulterior desires. They dedicated their bodies and everything they possessed to the service of Sri Krishna, taking it for granted that their bodies were meant for his enjoyment. They dressed themselves with the understanding that Krishna would be happy by seeing and touching them. Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Ravish Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Translation: the gopis think I have offered this body to Lord Krishna. He is its owner and it brings him enjoyment.
Continue, Prabhu. Yeah, up to purport.
Loading, Prabhuji, right now.
Yeah.
Translation: Krishna finds joy in seeing and touching this body. It is for this reason that they cleanse and decorate their bodies. O Arjuna, there is no greater receptacles of deep love for me than the gopis, who cleanse and decorate their bodies because they consider them mine. Purport. This verse was spoken by Lord Krishna in the Adi Purana.
Thank you, Prabhu. Raj Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dhanatranam. Translation. There is another wonderful feature of the emotion of the gopis. Its power is beyond the comprehension of the intelligence.
That means we cannot comprehend. We are limited. That's where we are limited senses. Yeah, read Prabhu.
When the gopis see Lord Krishna, they derive unbounded bliss, although they have no desire for such pleasure. Translation: the gopis taste a pleasure 10 million times greater than the pleasure Lord Krishna derives from seeing them. Purport: the wonderful characteristics of gopis are beyond imagination. They have no desire for personal satisfaction. Yet, when Krishna is happy by seeing them, that happiness of Krishna makes the gopis a million times more happy than Krishna himself. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Anybody left? Lavanya, you want to read? Okay. Translation: the gopis have no inclination for their own enjoyment, and yet their joy increases. That is indeed a contradiction. Translation purpose. For this contradiction, I see only one solution. The joy of the gopis lies in the joy of their beloved Krishna. Purport: the situation of the gopis is perplexing. For although they did not want personal happiness, it was imposed upon them. The solution to this perplexity is that Sri Krishna's sense of happiness is limited by the happiness of the gopis. Devotees at Vrindavana, therefore, try to serve the gopis, namely Radharani and her associates. If one gains the favor of the gopis, he easily gains the favor of Krishna, because on the recommendation of the gopis, Krishna at once accepts the service of a devotee. Lord Chaitanya therefore wanted to please the gopis instead of Krishna, but his contemporaries misunderstood him. And for this reason, Lord Chaitanya renounced the order of householder life and became a sannyasi.
When Lord Krishna sees the gopi, his joy increases and his unparalleled sweetness increases also. The gopis think Krishna has obtained so much pleasure by seeing me. That thought increases the fullness and beauty of their faces and bodies.
Yeah. Mother, you are not able to see or what?
The beauty of Lord Krishna increases at the sight of the beauty of the gopis, and the more the gopis see Lord Krishna's beauty, the more their beauty increases. In this way, a competition takes place between them in which no one acknowledges defeat.
Transcendental competition. Yeah.
Krishna, however, derives pleasure from the beauty and good qualities of the gopis, and when the gopis see his pleasure, the joy of the gopis increases. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mother. Hare Krishna. Lavanya, you want to read?
Yeah, will do. Therefore, we find that the joy of the gopis nourishes the joy of Lord Krishna. For that reason, the fault of lust is not present in their love. Purport. By looking at the beautiful gopis, Krishna becomes enlivened, and this enlivens the gopis, whose youthful faces and bodies blossom. This competition is of increasing beauty between the gopis and Krishna, which is without limitations, is so delicate that sometimes mundane moralists mistake these dealings to be purely amorous. But these affairs are not at all mundane, because the gopis' intense desire to satisfy Krishna surcharges the entire scene with pure love of Godhead, with not a spot of sexual indulgence.
Thank you. Samyukta, please.
Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I worship Lord Keshava coming back from the forest of Raja. He is worshipped by the gopis who mount the roofs of their palaces and meet him on the path with 100 manners of dancing glances and gentle smiles. The corners of his eyes wander like large black bees around the gopis' breast. Purport. This statement appears in the Kesavastaka 8 of the Stavamala compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami. Hare Krishna.
Akinchan Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Praveen Prabhu, Aryan Prabhu.
Translation. There is another natural symptom of the gopis' love that shows it to be without a trace of lust. The love of gopis nourishes the sweetness of Lord Krishna. The sweetness is in turn increases the love, for they are greatly satisfied. The happiness of the abode of love is in the happiness of the object of that love. This is not a relationship of desire for personal gratification. Whenever there is a unselfish love, that is its time. The reservoir of love derives pleasure when the lovable object is pleased. When the pleasure of love interferes with the service of Lord Krishna, the devotees become angry towards such ecstasy. Purport. As mentioned above, the gopis are the predominated lovers and Sri Krishna is the predominator, the beloved. The love of the predominated nourishes the love of the predominator. The gopis had no desire for selfish enjoyment. Their feeling of Krishna was indirect, for it was dependent on the pleasure of Krishna. Causeless love of God is always so. Such pure love is possible only when the predominated is made happy by the happiness of the predominated. Such unadulterated love is exemplified when the lover deprecates her happiness if it hinders her from discharging her service. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Praveen Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Sri Daruka did not release his aesthetic feeling of love, for they caused his limbs to become stunned and thus obstructed his service of penning Lord Krishna. Purport. This verse is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 3.2, 6.2. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yes. Lois Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Translation. Thus-eyed Radharani powerfully condemned the aesthetic love that caused a flow of tears that hindered her sight of Govinda. Purport. This verse is also from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.3.54.
Actually, we'll read whenever we get Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu verses. Since we are going to learn after Bhakti Shastri Bhagavad Gita section, so let us read this. Try to read this, Prabhu. Sloka. Verse, yeah, verse.
You move little down.
Yeah.
Govinda Prekshana Akshepi Bashpa Puru Bashpa Pura Abhi Varshinam Uche Anindat Anandam Aravinda Vilochana.
Haribol. Let me try. Nice. Govinda Prekshana Kshepi Bashpa Purabhivarshinam Uchair Anidan Anandam Aravinda Vilochana. Haribol. Yes. Rupa was fine. Yes.
Translation. I'd rather Rani powerfully.
So yeah, read it.
The I'd rather Rani powerfully condemned the aesthetic love that caused a flow of tears that hindered her sight of Govinda. This verse is also from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 2.3.54.
Yes, we want to read this one. Read it, please.
Ara Shuddha Bhakta Krishna Prema Seva Vine Sava Sukha Artha Chalokya Adi Na Kare Grahane. Translation. Furthermore, pure devotees never forsake the loving service of Lord Krishna to aspire for their own pleasure, through the 5 kinds of liberation. Purport. A pure devotee of Krishna who loves him exclusively will flatly refuse to accept any sort of liberation, beginning from merging with the body of the Lord and extending to the other varieties of liberation. such as equality of form, opulence or abode, and the opulence of living near the Lord.
That one, Sarupya, Salokya, Samipya, Srashti, that kind of liberation. Okay. Raj Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Translation. Just as the celestial waters of the Ganges flow unobstructed into the ocean, so when my devotees simply hear of me, their minds come to me, who reside in the hearts of all. These are the characteristics of transcendental loving service to Purushottama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is causeless and it cannot be obstructed in any way. My devotees do not accept Saloka, Shastri, Sarupya, Samipya, or oneness with me, even if I offer these liberations in preference to serving me. Purport. These three verses from Srimad Bhagavatam 3.29.11.2.13 were spoken by Lord Krishna in the form of Kapila Deva. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Akinjan Prabhu, would you read? Would you like to read? Not there. Okay. Let me read again. Translation purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My devotees, having fulfilled their desires by serving me, do not accept the four kinds of salvation that are easily earned by such service. Why then should they accept any pleasures that are lost in the course of time? Purport. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto, 4th chapter, 67 verse, was spoken by the Lord in connection with the characteristics of Maharaja Ambarisha. Merging into existence of the Absolute is as temporary as living in the celestial kingdom. And that means they have to come back again. Brahmajyoti platform, light form, Sat platform. Now, both of them are controlled by time. Neither position is permanent. Neither position is permanent. So complete realization is Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is that? Sachidananda Vigraha, complete realization, Bhagavan realization. Yes, Mata, you can read, Mataji. Deepa Mataji, please read.
The natural love of the gopis is devoid of any trace of lust. It is faultless, bright, and pure, like molten gold. The gopis are the helpers, teachers, friends, wives, dear disciples, confidants, and serving maids of Lord Krishna. O Partha, I speak to you the truth. The gopis are my helpers, teachers, disciples, servants, friends, and consorts. I do not know what they are not to me. This verse was spoken by Lord Krishna in the Gopi Premamrita. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Samyukta Mataji, please read.
The gopis know Krishna's desires and they know how to render perfect loving service for his enjoyment. They perform their service expertly for the satisfaction of their beloved. O Partha, the gopis know my greatness, my loving service, respect for me, and my mentality. Others cannot really know this. Purport. This verse was spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna in the Adi Purana. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Praveen Babu. Aryan Babu.
Translation. Among the gopis, Srimati Radhika is the foremost. She surpasses all in beauty and good qualities and good fortune and above all in love. Among all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most exalted. She is the most beautiful, the most qualified, and above all the greatest lover of Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Just as Radha is dear to Lord Krishna, so her bathing place Radha Kunda is dear to him. She alone is his most beloved of all the gopis. This verse is from the Padam Purana.
So where this Radhakunda is situated? Anybody knows?
The center.
Where?
Govardhan, near that.
Yes.
Govardhan.
Yes. Radhakunda, Shyamkunda, besides only. This, the other side is Radhakunda, other side is Shyamkunda. We recently went for Yatra. Yeah. So that is the topmost place. Yes. Lovish Prabhu, read. Is there? Hare Krishna. Raja Prabhu, read.
Hare Krishna Prabhu's translation. O Partha, in all the three planetary systems, this earth is specially fortunate. For Anate, earth is the own of Vrindavana, and there are the gopis are especially glorious because among them is my Srimati Radharani. But this verse spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna is cited from the Adi Purana. Translation. All other gopis help increase the joy of Krishna pastimes with Radharani. The gopis act as the instruments of their mutual enjoyment. Purport. It is said that the gopis are divided into 5 groups, namely Sakis, Nitya Sakis, Prana Sakis, Priya Sakis, and Parama Presta Sakis. All these 4 complex and associates of Srimati Radharani, the queen of Vrindavana Dhama, are expert artists in evoking erotic sentiments in Krishna. The Parama Presta Sakis are 8 in number, and in the ecstatic dealings of Krishna and Radha, they side sometimes with Krishna and other times with Radharani, just to create situation in which it appears that they favor one against the other. That makes the exchange of mellows more palatable. Hare Krishna.
Haribol, nice. Parama Preshta Sakis means like Ashtasakis. They are called Parama Preshta Sakis. Right? So nice, Prabhu. You see different names of 5 groups of gopis. Sakis, Nitya Sakis, Prana Sakis, Priya Sakis, Parama Preshta Sakis. With the Vaishnava Acharyas only we get to know these details. They will read up to 20 verses, okay? Another 2 verses. Okay, who can, anybody can read. Yes.
Let me read.
Yes, bro. Read.
Translation. Radha is the beloved consort of Krishna and she is the wealth of his life. Without her, the gopis cannot give him pleasure. The Lord Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, left aside the other gopis during the Rasa dance and took Srimati Radharani to his heart, for she is the helper of the Lord in realizing the sense of his desire. Purport. In this verse from the Gita Govinda 3.1, Jayadeva Goswami describes Sri Krishna's leaving the Rasa Leela to search for Srimati Radharani. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. One more verse. You can read this one also. We'll conclude.
Translate. Roger, I'll read.
Yeah.
Lord Chaitanya appeared with the sentiment of Radha. He preached the dharma of this age, the chanting of the holy name and pure love of God.
Haribol, ultimately. He preached the dharma of this age. How? Because this is there in the Bhagavatam. Kalir dosha nide rajan asti eka mahaguna kirtana devasya mukta sangha param rajit. That's the chanting of the holy names of the Lord and pure love of God. He appeared for the purpose to fulfill his Lord's mission. Right. So thank you so much, Prabhuji and Mataji. Actually, this chapter, this Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita chapter, and especially this chapter, having 271 verses. And recently, yesterday, in our groups, we have seen Indradyumna Swami Maharaj. He presently visited the physical copy of the Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. They put it in. I think you all see the video, right? Haribol. Yesterday, in our satsang groups, there is a video. The original text of Antya Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Have you gone through that video?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Of course, these purports, translations are not there. Directly, the realizations he put it in the papers 500, 550 years back. Yeah. So with the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we are able to read in English the understandings of those verses, those texts. yeah, the purports and translations. Right. Yeah. Thank you so much again. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada translated book reading ki jai. Nitai Gaura Hari Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So I see you all on Monday. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. This is very important. Again, COVID surge is going on. Please take care of yourself and your family members, and keep Krishna in the center and perform all activities. We don't need to worry about the COVID or Movid or COVID. Krishna is there. But take care of ourselves. We have to do our best of capacities. Thank you. And all pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.